All right, Todd Kidda here. I'm here to talk to you about podcasting. So I did a tweet yesterday, said, hey, I did this really cool serverless podcasting solution in less than an hour. Really simple, straightforward, no code. Derek said, would you please tell us how you did that? He asked for a blog. I said, I don't have a blog, but I can make a YouTube video, so here we go. So I am going to talk to you about RSSP. So what's RSSP? Really simple serverless podcasting. All right, rock and roll. Here's the architecture. So this is for my daughter, right? So everyone's social distancing right now. She wants to start a podcast about what her life is like. So what I have set her up doing is some folders that are in OneDrive, where I've created an XLSX file, an Excel file, and that is going to maintain the metadata about the podcast as well as each episode. And it's also she'll have a subfolder where she'll put all our MP3s. And using the standard OneDrive sync capability, that will be synced up to OneDrive. Pretty straightforward. So far, we're all in the SaaS world. So then what I thought we could do is make a couple logic apps in Azure, which I'll show here in a minute, that will, one, copy the new MP3s that she puts in her OneDrive over to Azure Blob in a public container. So publicly available, totally anonymous, available to anyone on the internet, all serverless so far. Also, whenever she updates the Excel file, which would be like the publish action, so she's ready to, maybe she put the new MP3 there, but she's not ready to put it in her RSS feed. The Excel file will indicate that she's ready to do that. So the Excel file will maintain each episode metadata and will, logic apps know how to trigger on OneDrive updates, know how to parse Excel files. And then what I do is I just build some XML using some string variables inside the logic app, publish to Azure, again, in that same public container. And then I have all I need, right? So I have MP3s, I have RSS XML that's just sitting in Blob as a file, and then people can access that through their podcasting app, whatever they so choose to use. All right, so I think really the only thing I really need to show, so the components, right? So I have OneDrive, I have two logic apps, I have Azure Storage, and I think that's all that I need. I'm going to walk you through the two logic apps that I built. So on the trigger, here's a trigger. When a file is created, that would be when the MP3, this is the one that takes the MP3s and publishes those to Azure Storage. I basically check to see the files that were triggered, is it an MP3? So in case she accidentally put like an image in there or whatever, I'm making sure that this is just an MP3. You can make that whatever you want. So if it is an MP3, if false, nothing happens. We just fall off the edge. If it is an MP3, I get the file content and I put that in a, so the binary, the bits from the file are gathered from OneDrive. And then I create a blob and I put it in the public folder, which is just actually the container. I named the file name the same as what it was in OneDrive. I put the content in there from this guy right here, and then I set the content type, which is going to be an MP3 file. So pretty straightforward. So that's just how to get those MP3s over there. I'm basically pushing new MP3 files into Azure Storage from OneDrive. The other one is a little more involved, where I wake up when the Excel file is modified, right? So remember that Excel file is the one that has the metadata about the podcast in each episode. I create a variable called init. I call the variable RSS string, and I init it with the top part of the XML of the RSS. One of the improvements that I'm going to make is right now I've got all this hard-coded in here. So like the title of the podcast, the link, the language, all that's hard-coded in here. I'm going to move that information over to the Excel file as well so that my daughter can update that whenever she wants. And so this is just a string variable. I loop through each file that was modified. I know it's only one, but that's how the OneDrive trigger works, is that it returns a list of files that were modified, and I check to see if the file that was modified is podcast.xlsx. If it is not, then I don't do anything. If it is, I go and gather the list of rows from each table. So from the table that I specified for each episode. So in the Excel file, I have a table called episodes. This will get each row. So that will just grow over time. So if she gets to episode 100, I hope she does, then this will have 100 rows in it, and it'll loop through each one. And so while I'm looping through that, I'm just appending to that same variable that I created up above, but I'm taking the data out of the Excel table and just using that to dynamically build the XML. So nothing super crazy here. There's no actual XML first class thing that I'm using. I'm literally just making a string, and that string happens to have XML in it. And so then after I finish looping through each row in the table, I end the XML by ending those tags there, and I simply write out the blob. So, and I make sure the only thing different here is that I'm setting the content type, right? So it's going to be application/RSS plus XML is the content type. I'm putting it in the same folder. This will be the feed, and that is it. So if you have any questions, either put a comment in the YouTube or send me a tweet at Todd Kidda. All right, everybody, stay healthy, stay safe, and I will see you later.